Hi everybody! Sorry that we're getting started a little bit late on Enchanted April Day 25, but I needed to get set up in a different location because somebody had asked, since I did one of these and featured Thunder, the rescue pigeon, that maybe I could do one and include Forbes, my rescue dog. Hi, good morning. People starting to come in. Wave. I think I know how to do that. Okay, Forbes, let's see. I had a treat here for you. Where did it go? Perhaps you have already found it. Do you guys know the Wild Earth treats? There's Wild Earth food as well, all vegan and eco-friendly. Now, my dog had some difficulty, and I suppose I was maybe too much of a pushover trying to get him on really healthy vegan food when we adopted him. The rescue lady handed him to me and said, just so you know, he'll only eat hot dogs and chicken soup. And I thought, oh my gosh, a sodium addict. So it took a while, but he is now on Wild Earth food and doing brilliantly. Forbes, would you like to sit up just a little bit higher so that people can see you? Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. Anyway, this is Forbes, and he is a rescue. He's about 8 years old now, and when we rescued him, he had heartworm disease. So we went through that. There are a couple of ways you can do that. There's the fast way, which kind of scared me, and then there's the slow way. So we did the slow way, and it worked beautifully for Mr. Forbes, and he is now a healthy, happy, and absolutely loving, loving dog. Oh my gosh. These guys, somebody said once that his dog, his rescue greyhound, was sweet love in a dog suit. And I think we could say that about just about all of them, and the kitties and the birds and the hamsters and everybody else, and certainly the other animals who really have a difficult time, the chickens and cows and pigs. We may be talking about them a little bit later. So today's topic is slowing down. The quotation comes from my book, Fit From Within, and it says, begin by slowing down and sitting down for your meals. Then let yourself slow down and be more fully present for your life. Ooh, that kind of gives me chills, because you know, all the stuff that I've written over all these years is all stuff I need to read or I wouldn't have written it to begin with. So I do want to read to you today. It's from Fit From Within. I love this book, but there's one line in it that would not be there today were I writing it today instead of back in 2002 or 3, whenever it was that I wrote this. I was writing a section where I was talking about the genuine pain and suffering that people can have who are really food addicts. And I think you know that's my history. And it's just an awful thing. I'm sure it's like being any kind of addict. There's just a huge amount of suffering there. And so this book is about attitudinal things. It's not about food or diet, but I certainly wanted one of the 101 little essays to be about my vegan values. I said vegetarian in that book at that time. I thought that would be better accepted. And I made a statement that I wouldn't make now. I said, look, I'm going to put tofu with my salad or my stir fry, and maybe you'll put chicken. I just want you to stop suffering. Well, mea culpa, I wish I hadn't said that, because I want the chickens to stop suffering too. So for that reason, I don't run around promoting this book, but there's an awful lot of good in it and an awful lot of help for people with problems with food. And so I wish they'd sell out all the copies and do a reprint, and then I could take out that part that I wish wasn't there. Anyway, I do want to read you from a part that I'm very glad is there, and the chapter is called Slow Down and Sit Down. This is not the whole thing, it's just an abbreviation. But what it says is, when you eat on the run, your body and brain have a hard time realizing that you ate it all. They're expecting an experience, the ritual of dining, not just some food thrown down the hatch. So give your physical and mental selves what they're desiring: some time, set aside for the meal. Cooking smells from the kitchen. Washing up for dinner, and maybe even changing your clothes to alert yourself to the fact that something civilized is about to happen. Sit down at a table and have a place setting. Nothing fancy required, just something inviting. Put on music, light a candle. You may be feeling more relaxed just by hearing these words and imagining this scene. Think how content you'll feel when you turn it into reality. When you slow down and sit down, you'll taste your food, you'll experience culinary pleasures that take some time to sink in. You'll actually give your brain the 20 minutes it's supposed to take to register that you have indeed eaten. Slowing down for your meals is also good training in slowing down for other things. It is a grace to be able to answer someone's, "Do you have a minute?" with, "For you, certainly." It's a blessing to be able to read a novel and not feel guilty about the time it took. It's even nice to sit long enough to dry your nails so you don't have to swear and repair a smudge and start over. I would like more of those easy times, and perhaps you would too. Begin by slowing down and sitting down for your meals, then let yourself slow down and be more fully present to your life. So, thank you for letting me read you a story. I've been telling you a lot of stories for the past 3.5 weeks. So I'd love to hear from you about mealtime rituals. What do you do that's really special? Do you guys say grace? Do you sing a little song? What do you do? I am a big fan of the blessing over the meal, whether it's a religious kind of blessing or completely secular. Just the idea of, you know what, I didn't grow this food, I didn't get it to me, it's pretty miraculous that I have it. I remember when my daughter was little, and a lot of her friends, were being raised as atheists and humanists and whatever, and I have complete respect for everybody's way that they live their life, but we had always said table grace, and I was trying to figure out what can we do when these kids come over that, their parents don't want that in their lives, and we found this wonderful secular table grace that came from the Waldorf schools. You all know the Rudolf Steiner educational system, wonderful system. Anyway, it goes, this little table grace: Earth who gives to us this food, sun who makes it ripe and good. Dear Earth, dear Sun, by you we live, our loving thanks to you we give. Isn't that sweet? And it works. So does sitting quietly and just breathing a few times to kind of prepare yourself for the fact that you're going to be ingesting food and it's going to become your physical self, which is kind of magical even just to think about. Maybe you're an Om person. That works too. So I know as a food addict in recovery that I was never able to do any of those things in preparation for a binge. It was absolutely impossible. I could not call upon the great beneficence and know that I was going to harm myself. So it's pretty cool. I also have a lovely friend who decided that because she had a problem not letting dinner go on and on and on into the evening, that she needed a period at the end of the meal. So she's a Protestant lady, and she visited a Catholic Mass, and at the end of the Mass, the priest says, go in peace, or go in peace to love and serve God. The Mass is ended, go in peace. And so she took that as her after meals prayer. So she says, the meal is ended, I go in peace. Kind of cool, isn't it? Kind of beautiful parameters. So that's what I have to say about slowing down and sitting down for meals. But when I talked about my inability to be able to offer any kind of thanks for food that I knew was going to harm me, it would also be really impossible for me today to offer thanks for food that had harmed somebody else. And that's why I'm a vegan. And last night, if anybody watched Bill Maher, give me some yeses and nos here in the comments section. If you watched Bill Maher last night, I know not everybody has HBO, but there are ways, I guess, to get TV and all kinds of different ways when you don't have it. But at the end of Bill Maher's show, he always has new rules, and then he gives a little kind of talk about how he sees the world. And last night, it was about animals and people and health and where we really stand with eating animals at this time in history. So I don't know all of you. Some of your names I see pop up here, but I don't know you in the real world, and I don't know what you eat, and it's none of my business. But I would really like to share with you what Bill Maher had to say last night, because I think it solidifies what I believe, that whatever we've done for all these years, for as long as we've lived on Earth, or as long as we know our ancestry, or for as long as humans have been here, okay, that's what we did. But going forward, I believe we need to do things very differently. And here's what he had to say. Said Bill Maher, and this is all a quote till I tell you it's no longer a quote. "I'm not watching Tiger King while sequestering, because torturing animals is what got us into this mess. That's the lesson we keep refusing to learn, that you can't trash the environment, including the animals, and not have it come back and kill you. America's factory farming is just as despicable as a wet market, and just as problematic for our health. Most, if not all, infectious diseases are zoonotic, meaning that they start in animals and jump to humans. If you think the market in Wuhan is gross, you should visit one of our giant poultry-producing factories. But of course you can't, because we have ag-gag laws that make it a crime to report the crime. And it is a crime. 80% of pigs have pneumonia when they're slaughtered because we make them live in conditions that would make a zombie vomit. And then, so that they don't die before we kill them, pump them full of antibiotics that in turn get passed on to humans. That in turn leads to antibiotic-resistant disease. That in turn leads to us dying from ever-evolving contagions. It's 6 degrees of tainted bacon. Let me put it as basically as I can. If we keep producing food the way we do, you're going to get sick with something medicine cannot fix. You don't have to care for the sake of the animals. I wouldn't want to mess with anyone's reputation as a heartless asshole, but do it, because animal cruelty leads to human catastrophe. And there's more. You can find it online, recorded, and the transcript I will put on Facebook links so that you can actually hear the comedian say it with his very own voice. But I was thrilled to hear that. He also had as a guest Dr. Katz from Yale, past president of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, talking about the situation. And I don't know about you, and I'd be interested in hearing in the comments if you have seen. I don't know that any of our guys, our plant-based doctors, have been on national TV since this thing started. You know, we watch CNN all the time, and it seems like everybody who's ever gotten a medical degree is on there saying something. And yet I personally, and I certainly don't watch all networks all the time, but I haven't seen Dr. Ornish, I haven't seen Dr. Barnard, I haven't seen Dr. Furman. So it was wonderful to see Dr. Katz last night on Bill Maher. He didn't really talk about plant-based eating so much, but he talked about lifestyle medicine as a way to shore up our immunity. Certainly you can't claim to have immunity to some condition that has not appeared on the earth before, but you can be a more robust person so that if you do happen to get an infection, you're more likely to be able to fight it off. So, sounds good to me. Does it sound good to you, Forbes? You want to say goodbye to the people? Can you see Forbes down there? Bye, people. Okay, well, have a wonderful Saturday. It's very important to me during this time of feeling like life is kind of one long day to really differentiate. and say, hey, wait a minute, this is the weekend. So at least I can alter my work schedule a little bit to reflect that this is indeed a weekend and we're supposed to have fun. So I hope you have fun this day and this weekend. And I do have one announcement this afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So that's noon out on the West Coast, and different times at points in between and points across the sea. The South Florida Vegans Virtual Expo is happening, and it's so cool. You know, I've been doing these things with New York, plant-powered Metro New York, and yet you don't have to be in New York. And this is South Florida Vegans, and you don't have to be in South Florida. So they are doing a virtual expo, and that will be, I'm so confused now. I'm looking at the sheet and it says 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern time, and somebody just emailed me and they said 3 o'clock Eastern time. So you know what? I'm going to do myself some research, and then I'm going to put it on the YouTube. But the panel that I'll be on, now this is an all-day thing, all kinds of information, but the panel that I am on is about communicating with family and friends while being vegan. And I'll be sharing that panel with two amazing women, Renee King-Sonnen, who has an animal sanctuary. She talked her cattle ranching husband into turning his cattle ranch into an animal sanctuary. So if you're trying to talk somebody into something magnificent, there's a role model. And also Susan Hargreaves of Animal Hero Kids, wonderful organization that is not changing kids. Kids are already compassionate. Kids are already cool. They're there to keep the kids as cool as they are so that they can grow up and change the world. And frankly, they're changing the world already. So thank you all for being part of this. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a blessed day. All good things.